Imagine this scenario. It's 1999. You are a highly trained engineer at NASA. You have spent years building a $125 million spacecraft designed to orbit Mars. It launches perfectly. It travels hundreds of millions of miles through the vacuum of space. But when it finally arrives at the red planet, instead of settling into a nice, stable orbit, it disintegrates.
It burns up in the atmosphere. Gone. And the reason wasn't a meteor strike or a complex computer virus. It was a math error. One team of engineers used the metric system, newtons, and the other team used imperial units, pounds force. They literally didn't speak the same mathematical language.
That is painful to even think about. But here is the question. What do you call that? Is it a slip-up? Is it an oversight? Or is it a blunder?
That is exactly what we're here to figure out, because in the English language, not all mistakes are created equal.
What is up, everyone? You have just stepped into the Fluency Lab, the only place where mistakes aren't just allowed, they are our best teachers. I'm Leo, and trust me, I am a professional at making every single kind of mistake we're talking about today.
Well, at least you're consistent, Leo. Hi, everyone. I'm Emma. We're so happy to have you back in the lab. Today, we're diving into the taxonomy of failure. We aren't just looking at the word mistake. We're dissecting 4 specific nuanced terms: blunder, slip-up, oversight, and gaffe.
I love this topic because, let's be honest, calling everything a mistake is boring. It's imprecise. If I spill coffee on my shirt, that's one thing. If I accidentally sell Alaska to the United States for 2 cents an acre, that is something else entirely.
Precisely. And choosing the right word can actually make you sound more responsible and self-aware, especially in a professional setting. Let's start small, shall we? Let's look at the slip-up.
This sounds physical to me, like slipping on a banana peel.
That intuition is spot on. The etymology traces back to the idea of losing your footing. A slip-up is a minor, often careless error. It's a glitch in execution, not a failure of knowledge. You know the right thing to do, but for a split second, your brain or your hand goes on autopilot.
So if I'm typing an email and I write there instead of there, that's a slip-up?
Exactly. You know the grammar rules, you aren't ignorant, it was just a mechanical failure in the moment. In psychology, these are often attributed to what we call lexical selection errors. Your brain is retrieving words from a massive database, and sometimes it grabs a neighbor of the word you wanted, a word that sounds similar or is related in meaning.
We often call those Freudian slips, right? Like when you say something you didn't mean to say, but maybe you secretly did mean to say it.
That is the popular understanding, yes. Sigmund Freud, in his 1901 book, The Psychopathology of Everyday Life, argued that these errors reveal our unconscious desires. The classic example is calling your current partner by your ex's name.
Oh, that is dangerous territory. That is a slip-up that might end a relationship.
It might, but modern linguists often argue it's less about secret desires and more about how our brains organize language networks. But regardless of the cause, the key to a slip-up is that it is minor and usually forgivable. It implies, I'm human, I tripped, I'm back up.
Okay, so slip-ups are the small stuff. Let's move to the corporate world. I want to talk about oversight. This word always feels very distinct to me because it sounds professional. You hear it in apologies a lot.
You do. An oversight is a failure to notice something or do something. It is an omission. You didn't do something wrong proactively. You failed to act because you missed a detail.
The word itself is interesting. Oversight. It's like your eyes looked right over the object without seeing it.
That is a perfect visualization, and because it implies a lack of intent, it is a very useful word for defusing conflict. If you say, I made a mistake, it sounds like you might be incompetent. If you say, it was an oversight, it suggests you are competent, but you are perhaps too busy or distracted.
So going back to that NASA story you mentioned in the intro, the Mars Climate Orbiter, the engineers failed to convert the units from imperial to metric. Was that an oversight?
Technically, yes. It was a failure to check a specific line of code or a specific specification document. However, when an oversight costs $125 million, it usually graduates to our next category, the blunder.
The blunder. It sounds heavy. It sounds like a bowling ball dropped on a wooden floor.
It really does. A blunder is a gross, stupid, or careless mistake. But unlike a slip-up, a blunder usually has significant consequences. The etymology here is fascinating. It comes from the Middle English word blunderin, which is related to the Old Norse word blundra, meaning to shut one's eyes.
To shut one's eyes. So to blunder is to walk blindly into a disaster.
Yes, it implies a lack of foresight or strategy. If we look at history, the sale of Alaska by Russia to the United States in 1867 is often cited as a geopolitical blunder for Russia. At the time, they thought they were offloading useless ice for $7.2 million. They didn't foresee the gold, the oil, or the strategic importance of that land.
That is the definition of walking blindly. They close their eyes to the potential value. So a blunder isn't just a typo, it's a strategic failure.
Exactly. In the game of chess, a blunder is a specific term. It refers to a move that objectively loses the game or significantly worsens your position. If you move your queen to a square where it can be immediately captured for nothing, blunder.
Got it. So slip up is, oops, I dropped my pen. Oversight is, oops, I forgot to sign the document. Blunder is, oops, I accidentally burned down the office.
You are getting the hang of it. Now we have one left, the one that keeps politicians awake at night. The gaffe.
My personal nightmare, the social mistake.
A gaffe is specifically a social or diplomatic error. It is when you say something tactless, awkward, or embarrassing, usually in public. But the origin of the word is surprisingly nautical.
Nautical? Like boats?
Yes, it comes from the French word gaffe, which means a boat hook, a long pole with a hook on the end, used for pulling in a boat or a fish. The idea is that when you make a gaffe, you are awkwardly hooking someone, or perhaps getting yourself hooked in a messy situation.
That makes so much sense. You are dragging something up that should have stayed underwater.
And nobody drags things up quiet like politicians. There is a famous definition by the journalist Michael Kinsley. He said, "A gaffe is when a politician accidentally tells the truth."
Oh, that is cynical but brilliant. Do you have an example of that?
There are so many, but a classic hot mic gaffe happened in 1984 with President Ronald Reagan. He was preparing for a radio address and didn't know the microphone was live. He joked, "My fellow Americans, I'm pleased to tell you today that I've signed legislation that will outlaw Russia forever. We begin bombing in 5 minutes."
Oh my God, in the middle of the Cold War?
Yes. It wasn't true, obviously, but it was a massive diplomatic gaffe. It caused a huge uproar because it revealed a casual attitude toward nuclear war. That is the essence of a gaffe. It reveals something about your character or your thinking that you didn't mean to show.
So, if I ask a woman when her baby is due and she isn't pregnant,
Gaffe! 100% gaffe. You have violated a social norm. You haven't made a strategic blunder that costs money, and it wasn't just a slip-up of the tongue. It was a failure of social intelligence.
It seems like the stakes are what differentiate these words. Let's try to apply this to a single scenario to see if we can separate them clearly. Let's say a wedding.
Okay, a wedding is a high-pressure environment, perfect for mistakes.
Scenario 1. The best man is giving a speech. He trips over a word and says wife instead of life.
Slip up. He's nervous. It's a mechanical error in speech. Everyone laughs. Nobody is hurt.
Scenario 2. The bride and groom realize they forgot to order vegetarian meals for the 5 vegetarian guests.
Oversight. They didn't intend to starve their friends. They just missed a detail in the planning process.
Scenario 4. The father of the bride gets drunk and gives a speech where he talks about how much he hated the groom's previous girlfriend and goes into way too much detail.
Major gaffe. It's social, it's embarrassing, and it makes everyone in the room uncomfortable. He has hooked the audience in the worst way.
Scenario 5. The groom decides to save money by hiring a cheap, unlicensed pyrotechnics team for fireworks, and they accidentally set the reception tent on fire.
That is a blunder, a massive strategic failure of judgment with catastrophic consequences, stumbling blindly into a disaster.
This taxonomy is actually incredibly useful. It changes how you take responsibility. If I tell my boss, sorry about the blunder, I'm admitting to being dangerous. But if I say it was an oversight, I'm framing it as a fixable process error.
Precisely. Language is about framing, and using the word oversight in a professional context is powerful because it implies that if you just fix the system or the checklist, the mistake won't happen again. A blunder suggests you might be the wrong person for the job.
So, for our listeners, here is the challenge. The next time you mess up, and you will, probably today, pause for a second. Don't just say sorry for the mistake.
Right. Ask yourself, was it a slip-up? A mechanical glitch? Was it an oversight? A missing detail? Was it a gaffe? A social embarrassment? Or, heaven forbid, was it a blunder?
And if it was a blunder, maybe just don't tell anyone.
Or blame it on the metric system.
Exactly. Blame the unit conversion. Well, that is it for today's session in the lab. We hope you feel a little more fluent in the language of failure.
Thank you for spending your time with us. Remember, stay curious, keep learning, and don't be afraid to make a few slip-ups along the way.
Keep it real, keep it fluent. Peace out.
Bye-bye.
See ya.